So there was a feeling going into the season that the Warriors were on some sort of magic carpet ride, that they were about to rack up bunches of titles without even sullying their feet by walking the earth us mere mortals do. You know, remember back in September when our own Jeff Van Gundy declared this whole season was already a wrap? And he was hardly the only one. Well, guess what? The Warriors may still win this year, but if so, they will have had to trek through plenty of mud to do it. The latest came Friday night when JaVale McGee landed on Steph Curry's knee. Remember, JaVale, nearly 100 pounds on Curry, so that hurts. Curry immediately a wreck, limping around the court, collapsing on the bench. Ooh. Saturday, the Warriors had diagnosed Curry with a grade 2 MCL sprain, and by last night, Steve Kerr got up on the podium and said this.
There's no way he's playing in the first round. There's no way. I mean, you know, he's being reevaluated in 3 weeks. So, so we got to be ready for to play without him and then see how he's coming along.
So that doesn't make you feel great if you're a Warriors fan. Now, about an hour later, Steph took that same stage and tried to spin the timetable a little bit.
Staying positive, staying upbeat. Hopefully I prove what Coach said wrong and put myself in a position to get back as soon as possible.
And hey, Steph shifting into his whole I know how to overcome people doubting me on a basketball court routine is usually a good sign for Golden State. But the human body is, well, human. There are some things you cannot change just by being plucky. Kevin Durant had the same injury last season. He missed about 6 weeks. If Steph took the same amount of time, he'd come back mid to late second round. Will they be in the middle of a fist fight with Damian Lillard and the Blazers at that point? I mean, just to get there, will the Warriors have had to play the Jazz, who've already beaten them twice this season? Or maybe they will have had to play the Thunder, which would put a tremendous amount of pressure on KD. And let's be real, Golden State would still be the favorite in any of those matchups. Even without Steph, they've got a former MVP, 2 other All-Stars, and a coach who's won 7 titles. But you cannot ignore how Steph changes the geometry of what the Warriors do more than anyone else on that team. Take a look at this. For every 100 possessions Curry is on the floor, the Warriors outscore their opponents by 14 points. So that's like a step on your throat kind of number, right? But the website Cleaning the Glass calculated what happens when he's not on the floor, but still when the Warriors have at least one of their other All-Stars. So we're not just talking about scrub time here. When that happens, the Warriors only outscore teams by 2.6 points every 100 possessions. Think about that. Winning by 14 versus winning by just 2. That is a much more vulnerable team. And even when Curry does come back, it's hard to know what percentage he'll be back at. Remember he had a knee sprain in the 2016 playoffs? Now that was only a grade 1, and certainly he had a few brilliant games after he came back. But he was never as consistently exceptional as he had been before. And by the way, all of this is before we talk about Curry's ankles, which have also been more vulnerable this season and caused him to miss 19 games. Hey, maybe in June we will look back on all of this as a blip. Maybe not. This much is clear. If the Warriors get to a parade this year, it won't be thanks to a magic carpet, but a set of crutches. Paul, what do you think Steph's absence means for this Warriors team?
Well, it's going to be a bumpier ride than it was a year ago. If you can remember, they swept through the playoffs all the way through. So this time, you know, they're not going to have Steph maybe for the first round. So things aren't going to be as easy, especially if you're talking about, you know, in the second round playing Portland or Oklahoma City. I have no worries about them in the first round. I think KD, Clay, Draymond, they're good enough to get past the first round. But the second round, when you see when the defense gets better and the players get better, you have to see guys like Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, or even Anthony Davis. I don't see it being an easy ride for them. And without Steph, they could possibly lose in the second round.
Wow.
They're fine. I mean, they theoretically could win the championship even if Curry didn't come back. It would be harder.
So. I don't think so. They won't win the championship without Curry.
They still have 3 of the top 20, depending on where you put Draymond, 20, 24 players in the league, I feel. That's championship level stuff. So now typically a grade 2 sprain is 4 to 6 weeks. That's what we know. Durant last year had a bone involvement. That's why he needed to miss 6. Steph, I don't think, has that. So let's just say it's going to be at least a month. I actually think this is going to be good for them because, number one, it's going to cause them to focus. Focus has been one of their biggest issues this year. Secondly, I do believe that this will maybe engage some more players and get them to play even more to their strengths, especially Durant. Durant, earlier this season when Curry was out and he wasn't dealing with a rib injury, was awesome, MVP level stuff. So I'm not worried about the Warriors at all. Yes, compared to last year, Paul, when they went undefeated in the West playoffs, 12-0 and weren't touched. No, I don't expect it to be that way this year for sure. But if Steph is back to being Steph by the conference finals, I'm not even worried about the second round. By the conference finals, they'll be fine.
Yeah, but you have a Rockets team where there's nowhere Steph can really hide defensively against that Rockets team, and especially if he's not quite as mobile on the perimeter as he's been. Paul, I want you to explain to us sort of, when we look at those numbers, kind of 14 versus 2, sort of how they are with him on the court versus off the court when they have at least one other All-Star. What is it? You've been on the court playing against Steph and the Warriors.
Right.
How does he change how you have to defend that team and sort of how that works?
Well, it's hard to double team them. They put you in situations when Steph's out there, you have to switch pick and rolls, you can't trap it. You have to come up with different defensive schemes. Now with Steph out, you can help off so many different guys. If you have Sean Leviston at the point, and you're saying you're taking away a guy who can't shoot the three on this level of Steph. So now you're like, okay, we can help off him, we can help off Draymond, and we can put more pressure on Clay and KD as far as defensively, preparing our scouting report. And it's going to be hard on them if they don't have a guy like Steph at the top who's constantly raining threes. That means the defense can collapse in on the paint a little bit more and make it tougher for them to score.
Yeah.
Everything he said made beautiful, perfect sense. Experience from playing. Your stats about the 100 possessions are wonderful. If anybody wants to sell their Warrior stock, I am prepared to buy. Thank you very much.
Will be interesting to see. It will not be easy. I think that is sort of the bottom line that we know.
It's not supposed
and we'll
to be
have
easy.
to see how it turns out.